Where?
Yes.
I
Live.
just remembered to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and good Tuesday. I can say Tuesday day on Tuesday, right?
You can.
Tuesday morning here on WYAB. Of course, I'm Chip Matthews. She's Taylor Turcottee.
Hello.
Special guest in the studio today is John Scanlon,
Hello, Chip.
former Democratic chairman in Canton of the Canton Democratic Committee.
That is correct. I'm a recovering Democrat.
Thank you very much. And of course, we're here to talk about corruption across America. And once again, let me just say it today. You people that are driving in to go work at the Capitol today, you're going past all the blight, you're seeing everything that's bad. Do something good today. Cut taxes. Election reform. We don't need to fit the early voting thing. That's ridiculous because you can't even get, we got to get some way in there to where you cannot cheat. We need somebody to grow some balls and give, or rather the legislature needs to give some balls to Michael Watson so
Correct.
that he can enforce the law, the election laws that are on the books, because Lynn Fitch is not going to do them. So, John, with that,
They say we have very good election laws.
what do you want to think? What do you say wrong with the system?
To say we have very good election laws is a real misnomer.
Really?
The reason elections are not enforced in this state is because that's by design.
Right.
Because the laws are set up so that the person responsible for administering has
Okay.
no enforcement authority.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
So consequently, they don't get enforced.
Right.
And if our
I guess I should have
experience,
finished my sentence with that. We have really good election laws if they would enforce them.
so there's plenty of work to be done,
Right.
and it's on purpose.
Agree. I agree.
It's on purpose by the legislators to have enough holes in this thing, in the election laws, so that they don't work right most of the time, and they don't.
And that way, I mean, people run unopposed constantly and everybody gets so comfortable. Well, that's my congressman, that's my senator, that's my House person in the House, and that's my mayor, that's my this, that's my that. They don't worry about.
Yeah, he's my guy, and
he's got to be doing right. He can't be up there doing wrong.
Here's a news flash: he needs to go.
Yes, all of them. All of you need to go. Is the way I see it. But anyway, you were on TV last night.
I was.
Doing. What were you trying to do?
They put a camera in my face wanting me to talk about the 50 for 50 protest that they were having at all the.
And you were a part of the protest?
What
No,
is
I was
that?
not a part of the. I have no idea.
What
was
is
at
50 for 50?
50 for 50. All 50 states were having a protest at the Capitol
On President's Day.
on President's Day. Now, the video that they showed me that they wanted me to speak to was a man talking about the 2025 and how the Republicans and Trump are responsible for 2025. And I was like, well, that's actually Democrats, and that's Gates' thing was the 2025 plan. But I mean, they're just out there protesting to protest is what I could figure out about it.
And then on one TV show, I saw him saying, we're protesting President's Day because we should not have a President's Day because America does not have a king and we should not uplift these people to have their own day.
Yeah.
And I went, y'all just throwing mud at the wall.
I quizzed some folks this past week on when was Abraham Lincoln born? They didn't know. When was George Washington born? They didn't know. I said, why do we have President's Day in February?
Right.
And they said, well, I'm not sure. I said, Abe Lincoln was born on February 12th. George Washington was born on February 22nd. we always celebrated it, but we still went to school.
Right.
We did not get out of school for
Mhm.
either one of those
Hey,
days.
you dressed up.
Nobody gets off work except for government employees and schools and banks.
Right.
Anyway,
The banks thing is a hoax. I mean, holding my money for another day. But anyway, we're gonna get back. We're gonna talk about some shenanigans that went on in Canton, Mississippi. Y'all, believe it or not, Canton, Mississippi, at a Democratic committee meeting that was technically an illegal meeting. But anyway, we'll go through that.
technically illegal.
Well, because you have it's
Well,
a
no,
public.
it was technically
public-
illegal, but
it's a
who
pub-
who
nobody-
holds them accountable for having an illegal
We're
meeting?
gonna call Mike Watts. Say, Mike, they're doing it all wrong.
I know.
And
They
Mike's
just
gonna say,
break
we're-
the rules on purpose.
we'll write that down.
The current committee leadership is up to their old tricks, as they've been doing for the last 25 years. And they set a meeting time and then they change it at the last minute.
Uh-huh.
So people they know who want to be there can't, because they don't get the new time.
Right.
And so they moved to 5 o'clock meeting and didn't post it.
Right.
They moved it from 5 to 9 a.m.
In the
And then our former senator and former House of Representative guy
And two sitting legislators,
and
their
then-
children.
and their children, the sons,
Yep.
were
Those
all,
that pulled the dirty trick in the
those-
election
all the
are now
Blackmans-
pulling another
all-
dirty trick.
all the
Imagine
Blackmans
that.
were there in the meeting. The corrupt mayor was there with his video phone out, filming everything
Uh-huh.
For blackmail purposes.
for blackmail purposes. And then the committee wanted to vote to keep somebody off the ballot. And they said, you're not going to do that, or I'm going to sue everyone in the room. We'll be back and talk about this right after this on WYAB. And we're back on a Tuesday on the Chip Matthews Show. It's going to be cold later on. It's going to
Ooh,
be
very
all
cold.
hell breaking loose. Not
19
hell.
degrees.
Well, it's going to be all hell breaking loose when Trump gets some court rulings in his favor.
Ooh.
But anyway, let's go back to this corruption. So in Canton, Mississippi, it is where it's in Benny Thompson's district. So that means, of course, there's corruption everywhere, and it's where they practice everything for the national scale. They do it there and then take it to the big stage.
Right.
So in the Canton election yesterday, they had the meeting, and then of course the Blackmans, who have been a Democratic family that are, and some people say the Democratic crime family allegedly, but anyway, they're right there in Madison County, and they come in and they go into the meeting where the Democratic Executive Committee, duly elected, right?
Yes.
They were elected, wanted to qualify candidates on the ballot. They had 2 people they wanted to discuss.
Right.
They got rid of one.
There were 3 more that should have been discussed.
Right. We agree with that.
Yeah.
But let's just say they were going to discuss 2. One of them was running as a felon. That one was eliminated, right?
And they even voted on that, and 2 people abstained after seeing that the felon paperwork.
Okay.
Now, how do you abstain from an open and shut case?
Okay.
How do you have a hung jury on an open and shut case? I don't know.
So then they got to the other person, which is Camelia Walker.
Okay.
She is running for mayor of Canton in the Democratic primary against Tim Taylor and Daphne Sims.
Mhm.
And then she was the, just to give you a little background or her credentials, she is currently on probation for the next 10 years for changing test scores in the public school system in Canton. Cheating. Yeah. And then, of course, that keeps us off of where the state doesn't have to come in and take over Canton, because the state of Mississippi, the people at the Capitol are scared of Madison County and Canton. I honestly believe that they run out of the room when you're calling something happened in Canton, because they're scared of the Blackmans also. And I just believe that, because the Blackmans in this meeting, after they had a vote to remove her and wanted her to prove that she lived in Canton,
right,
which is there's a rumor that she voted in Ridgeland in the last 2 years, but that's just a rumor. But I've heard.
Well, you should be able to figure out where she voted.
I didn't go to the Democrat meeting because I'm not a Democrat.
I should say it should be easily verifiable.
Yes, but anyway, she should be able to prove by holding, and this is the same thing with the current mayor. Prove where you live by just show us your license, show us your this, show you
right.
Prove that you live there.
Right, easy to verify.
So instead of that happening, the Blackmans threatened the board.
Wow,
is what I'm understanding. And then in that, one person on the committee resigned.
Really?
And one person abstained and stated for the record that she would not, she couldn't vote because she was afraid of being sued and she had been threatened.
Okay. And the reason why we bring this up is because the board got sued last time when we were trying to remove people, and we had 11 trials, or there were 11 different trials that were decided before the general election. Okay. And John Scanlon hired attorney John Scanlon. Okay. And they did and you were a duly elected chairman for for Canton Democratic Election Committee, and you were elected to the position, and they want you to come out of your pocket to pay for the attorney of a position that the city should be.
You're being sued because you're in a position.
Hadn't been sued yet, but we do own the money. I just got a letter dated yesterday, which was the same day the Blackmans threatened the Democratic Executive Committee.
Amazing.
Saying we're not paying your bill. And if you can find a reason for us to do that, we'll consider it. Well, the problem is, when the primary in 2021 was not certified by the hand-picked committee to run the election, the General Election Committee couldn't certify the general election because the Democrats had no valid candidates on the ballot because their primary had not been certified.
And then,
Right.
and then when we went to court, they were ruled to not have a single legal vote in the general election.
So it surprises you that they're pulling shenanigans again?
Well, the problem is they're doing it in front of judges these days
now
and juries.
Exactly. They've gotten away with it.
And,
so
and the
they've
problem
gotten
is the
comfortable.
Mississippi judiciary
Mhm.
is as deep in the hole as the rest of these knuckleheads.
Yep.
They're crooked too, or
Yep.
were bought or threatened or whatever. But the point is the city council approved the General Election Commission to spend $6,000 on an attorney to answer the charges that were because the Michael Watson sued the General Election Commission because they would not certify the election because they couldn't.
Right.
Because of the discrepancies in the election. Because
Right.
they were, I mean, we had 2 ballots. We had a non-ballot. We had a delay in vote. I think we didn't even have a ballot for the first 3 weeks of the election.
Well, I submitted our new slate of candidates based on the judicial ruling of let them all run. Okay. The judge ignored our evidence and ignored the law and ruled all of these people that we took off the ballot, which were 4, put them back on the ballot. Okay. It was completely corrupt what the judge did. And that's what they did. That's what they did.
And what did Truly testify to when he was asked where he lived?
Well, for a 5-month period in 2020, which is less than 2 years before the election, neither Truly nor his wife could agree on where they lived.
And he said it was her responsibility.
Under oath.
And it was under her responsibility to keep up with that.
Yeah.
He was too busy.
Yeah.
He didn't know where he slept at night.
Had no idea.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
And of course,
That
without a badge and a gun and subpoena power,
you can't do anything.
I couldn't prove where his phone slept. I mean, it would have been simple. Just tell me, just let me find out where their phone sleeps at night.
Right.
And that's our
easy.
proof.
Right.
I couldn't do it.
And it would seem to me that the state or even the county, I mean, because we can't get anything out of Bubba Bramlett for us in Madison County, but somebody should have brought charges against him. And then when they brought in
But who?
But who? Exactly. It's supposed to, I guess it's supposed to get kicked down the road, then Lynn Fitch had to have to do it. But the reality is you've got to give Michael Watson or better yet, the Secretary of State needs to have the power. Michael Watson probably doesn't need to be the Secretary of State because he should have already been standing up for this before now.
Right.
He should be asking for some powers to do something in election law because the reality is the election law is set up and it's garbage.
And everybody knows it.
Bramlett's performance, the DA's performance for the 2017 election, where Chip and I both each submitted 3-page notes, dates, times, who did what to who, how much money changed hands, all this stuff.
Right.
We had them dead to rights. It took them 6 months to interview me.
Right.
Okay. And then they said, what do you want me to do? I said, put the bad guys in jail. I mean, this is not rocket science. And of course, Michael Guest was the DA at the time.
Right.
And I think he waited until he knew he was going to run for Congress. And then they started this off. Well, the prosecution of the people, they should have prosecuted 30 people. They prosecuted 7? Yeah. And it was absolutely feckless. I mean, the performance of the DA in court was, and Courtney Rainey, who ended up going to jail, or was supposed to go to, no, she went to jail, would not have gone to jail had she not tampered with a witness.
Right.
And live rounds were fired at Chip's house and somebody else's house.
Right.
That's what's going on in Canton. And it's going on all over the state. Don't kid yourself.
And it's called intimidation, and it doesn't register with me. Especially now that they have me on PTSD drugs. None of it registers.
Where is your flak jacket now? Is it in your car?
It's in my car, but I'm not in Canton. So
you don't need to wear it.
I don't need to wear it till I'm in Canton. Which, of course, there's video of them trying to drag me out of City Hall, mayor on one side, the police chief on the other, and telling me that it's illegal for me to wear a bulletproof vest into City Hall.
Wow.
And I said, I don't have a gun. I'm trying to protect myself from being shot by y'all.
Right. And they escorted you out of the business,
No,
out of the building because
more than once. They look, we were
because
trying.
you had a flak jacket on.
Right.
Because they just can.
He
Because
feared for his life. Yeah.
because they just can.
The
because
mayor,
they're
the mayor and his Praetorian Guard, better known as the Canton Police Department,
Yep.
they do some strange things. They escorted me out twice, and I was just trying to do my job
Well,
as the chairman of the Democratic Executive
they're
Committee.
not afraid of violence. They're afraid of you doing things.
Okay, we're going to take
Yeah.
a break, and we're going to come back and talk more political corruption. And look, legislatures, you're sitting down there. All of this is on the right. That's the funny thing is y'all act like, well, let's just talk. No, we have the receipts.
A court record.
We have a court record, the proof of what occurred. And y'all want to sit back and act like, well, nothing happened. Nothing. It's happening right there. It happens in every county, and you're trying to figure out how you fix it. Well, you're the ones that make the laws to fix it. So if you know, and if you don't know what to do, call some of us that have been involved, and we'll come help you. But anyway, we'll be back right here on the Chip Matthews Show with Taylor Turcottee in just a moment.
The business was the very last.
And we're back on a Tuesday on the Chip Matthews Show, and we're talking about political corruption and the people that work at the Capitol in Jackson, which could fix everything. And you people that are there, get off your ass and do something this week, please.
Yep.
That's-
Secure our elections. It's-
Secure the election. I mean, elections. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got a person on the phone. Let's see what's going on. Hello. You're on the air. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a little something. You were talking about the judges and stuff and all the things that they've done, and it's wide open. You can see that it's wrong. Those are only the little things that they've done. They use those to keep everybody busy with the small things. There are bigger things that they've done that they should be prosecuted for. And, you know, it's I don't know what else to say.
Well, it's exactly that. It's there, you know. I'm losing
Turn your
you.
radio down.
I'm losing
Yeah, things that you know ain't right, but it's right up in your face. It's right up in your face. Believe me, there's something bigger behind all that. The scale is higher.
Oh, yes.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So,
She's absolutely right.
She's
yeah,
very right.
the corruption is everywhere. The corruption is everywhere. And the lawmakers, which they're going to say, we elected them to do the laws. Well, we didn't have much choice in who we were going to elect, because the way the system works is the incumbent has the upper hand and the incumbent makes the rules.
Exactly.
And so
The mayor of Jackson will be running the election for the Jackson municipal elections.
if especially, well, yeah, he'll be doing that. But then also, if they went to the early voting thing for 15 days,
He's going to
think
have a
about that.
voting machine in his office.
Yeah, he can just crank out votes all day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's corrupt from top to bottom.
It is.
And John has a plan to fix it. Just kidding.
Well, you know, when you were sitting on vigil
Right.
in your flak vest
Right.
in the Kansas City Hall 4 years ago,
Right.
and periodically you would go out to the parking lot, I think the top number of out of Madison County plates you saw
Right.
was like 7
Right.
at one time in the parking lot, and all these people were walking in and out voting. Okay, that's
Right.
that's what was going on.
And then you're allowed to watch the voting, but they would take them into a room and close the door and wouldn't let me view.
Right.
Okay. And then of course we're right now in Canton again. This happened 4 years ago. When we were doing all this, John and I were there at 5 o'clock on qualifying day.
Okay.
And it was real simple. The clerk had the names and
Right.
you put them up and you do the thing.
Right.
They fired the clerk and they did it again. Let's see what we got here on the phone. YAB, hello. Hello.
Yes, I want to know if I can.
Go
yes,
ahead.
I want to know if I can make a comment.
Yes, you can. You're on the air.
Listen, y'all. I understand a lot of y'all frustrations about stuff that's going on in Madison and Hines County, and I'm with y'all. But I'll be frank. In order for us to get society back on track, what's going to have to happen is we're going to have all the good white folks, all the good black folks, and any other body who actually fear the man of the. And what we're going to have to do, y'all, we're going to have to have our politicians, whether regardless if they're crooked, they can be a sheriff, they can be the mayor, they can be a government, they can be whoever, any of these pastors, anybody who's outside of the word of that book and who are doing anything. If you are allowing drugs to go through our community, you're a judge, you got unbalanced sentences, you are a teacher and you've been pedophiling, you just need to make a hit list and go and kill these people to start over. We wasted time, y'all.
Well, that's the problem is those people at the state capitol, the politicians are keeping the good people out. And every time somebody runs, they get beat and then they don't run again. That's the sad thing. And you got to hammer at them. You got to constantly, you got to always stand back up. If you believe in what you believe in, you got to stand up every time.
Well, I mean, I understand they don't fear unless you put some fear in them. So unless we come together, the ones who understand, if we don't come together, and we just don't have to come together.
Yep.
And
The everyday people have got to start coming together.
I agree.
Our government, to include the judiciary, has failed us miserably in this state and probably in the country. And so consequently, the next step, and they know this, is anarchy. So if you look on YouTube at the Battle for Athens, it will explain how this story ends if the elected officials who are sworn and being paid to uphold the law don't do that, which in Mississippi they are not.
They kick it down the road. Kick it down the road. Thank you for calling. What you got on you? What else? You got anything else?
No, I just saying that, for the people who believe in the Almighty, it's just time to come together.
Yes, you're correct.
Got to go ahead and just get rid of these people and insert our own people, and we'll just have to start over.
And there are too few of those who believe in the Almighty. That is the problem.
And where are you from exactly?
I'm from Oxford, but I've been living down here in Ridgewood and Jackson for the last 20 years.
Okay.
I'm from Oxford.
And you do vote, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you very much for calling.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
He's right.
He's
We've
right.
got the everyday person, black, white, green, yellow, or orange. We've
both
got to come together and stand up, and we can flip the table.
Both of them are right. Both callers are right.
Right.
Because this is a lot bigger than some municipal election.
Correct.
And some executive committee being intimidated by 2 former and 2 sitting state legislators.
And let me ask you this. So being intimidated in an election process, where do you go next? Where would you go for justice for that?
The Secretary of State.
Okay. And then what's going to happen there? Nothing.
Well, he doesn't have it.
So wait a minute. We need to be making a game plan for what are we going to do? Not that nobody's going to do anything for us.
I mean,
how do we, because if the thing, they keep doing it because they keep getting away with it.
And
so
they get away with it
and
they get away with it because Michael Watson needs to be more concerned about the powers he doesn't have than the powers he does have. He needs to be making a stink, and he needs to go into Lynn Fitch's office and say, look, we've investigated it and we're handing it to you. And then, of course, Lynn Fitch goes, now we'll investigate it to make sure that you knew what you were doing when you went and investigated it. So then she would take it, and then she would have to prosecute.
Okay.
But when you don't do anything, the only thing she ever did for elections was she put out an opinion when she went into office that everybody had your residency had to be for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And as soon as that happened, and we had residency problems in Canton,
right,
she ran. She ran. She didn't. She shouldn't.
And the judicial proceedings in 2021 in Canton blew that 2-year rule out of the water
completely. And and then, of course, if you say that's the law, but you can't enforce the law,
right,
you're weak.
Right.
Don't even think about running for governor, Ms. Fitch, because you're too weak to be the governor.
Well, unless she starts going after election law now, maybe.
Well, she's going to take this abortion thing and say that she's the one that stopped abortion.
Well, okay, but that's not enough. But that was done a while ago. That's over and done with. It's time to keep working.
But that was also a whole group of people doing that for her.
Well, yeah, it was the Republican women as well.
They were getting it done. It wasn't her getting it done.
Right.
And they found a flaw in the law, and that was that. And she took all the credit and then has done nothing since.
Okay. So how do we motivate her?
I don't know. You would think.
No,
do we have her office phone number? People start calling. Is that how I got on the ballot?
All these people need to be fired, primaried and fired.
Yes, you need to vote against them.
Well, but if they're running their election, you can't fire them.
Right? They run. I mean, that's the situation.
How do you get rid of Benny Thompson when he continues to
cheat?
To cheat. I mean, you can't. There's nothing you can do about it.
And then, of course,
what do we do about it? We got to start forming a plan and doing something.
And the people that are, when Benny does what he does, the state allows it to happen because they don't get involved. It's like the state has not said a word about Benny being censured. We've been here for forever and not censured. He's been pardoned.
Right.
But the state should be getting in the middle of it saying, look, if we're going to send a citizen up there to represent us,
wow,
we want to know what you did wrong.
We stopped talking about it.
And if you broke the law, Benny, you need to go to jail. We need to censure Benny.
Right.
But these clowns down here in Jackson, they're going to let Benny run right over them. Run right over them. They're weak. No backbone.
Enforce the laws.
I mean, I don't
Call
know.
your congressman, I guess. Is that what we do? We call
Well,
our
you
congressman.
so you're going to call Benny?
Yeah. Well, Benny's not my congressman, but
Benny's our congressman.
yeah, he's yours. No, I meant on a local level, at
On the
at a state level.
Well,
I mean,
Well, why are you going to do that? They all voted lockstep
well, but
for
if,
USAID.
well,
And then you got Roger Wicker sitting over there going, the vice president don't need to talk about the Department of the Secretary. They're all overstepping their bounds. They're all going too far. No, they're not, Roger. Trump has told them what their job is.
Right.
He's the boss.
right,
And they're implementing his plan.
right.
And just because you want to budget it and do something different because you're the head of the Armed Service Committee, you're the head. You want to do it. You want to look like you did it. You're not doing anything. The people, you're there sent by the people to represent the people. Then you get put on a committee that's for the whole United States. And then you should be, one, representing Mississippi values.
Yep.
And number two, you should be voting the right way. Let's see what this phone caller wants. WYAB, hello?
I just called, but they're saying the wrong thing.
What are you saying wrong?
Excuse me?
What are we saying wrong?
It's hard to understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Static.
There's
All I wanted to say is that the people that are not doing anything about all this stuff, Denny Thompson and all these people, the reason the state is not doing anything because they got a hand in it.
Correct. We agree.
They got a hand in it. They got a hand in it, and you better believe they're getting their hands greased. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
She's dead on it. And that's
She is.
that's basically what we're saying. All this money, it's just like I was listening to what's his name talk today. Who's the head of the Jason White? Is that his name?
Yeah. Speaker of the House.
He said we got $3 billion laying around at the Capitol.
Yeah.
$3 billion. We also have
We've
a
had that
fully
for
funded
several
rainy
years.
day fund that we put
Yep.
together back when Tate
have-
was a little lieutenant governor
When he was,
or state auditor,
when he
whatever he
could
was.
squirrel away money back then.
Yeah. But we did all this and they're not doing anything with the money. They say we can't cut taxes. We got a one-time tax break, blah, blah, blah. They come up with all this stuff. It's all crap.
It is. We have plenty of money in Mississippi. They've been pitching that to us.
Well, we can't trust
there's-
them because look at the tobacco funds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's proof positive. The legislator or legislatures, no matter who they are, cannot be trusted.
Well, it doesn't matter how much money we have if our officials and the people in the government are holding the people down. And I mean, they're not
you
stealing that money, but they're stealing our votes.
Oh,
they're stealing.
They're stealing
I mean-
they're stealing that money
Well,
because
I
$3
mean-
billion probably makes some good interest. They're not talking
oh,
about
I'm
it.
sure it does.
And it's been there for 2 or 3 years, so it made money.
Right.
And then of course, remember, we're gonna get the lottery, and we're not gonna have to pay any more taxes ever again. We're gonna get the dope money coming in. We're never gonna have to pay taxes again.
Yeah.
All we do is pay taxes.
Right.
And
2 and 3 and 4 times.
so we're going to cut taxes this year. We're going to cut it to 4%. We're going to give each blah, blah, blah. And the math comes out to where it's really a raise to 8.5%.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right. And we just keep letting them.
Well, that's your city.
We
That's
keep
your
letting
local
them-
government putting that 1.5% on there. Well, if you give them the option to put it on there, they're
Right.
right.
You brought
they're
it
gonna
up. You're working with them and then telling us.
Of every dime of government money spent,
Right.
some of that,
Right.
probably not pennies anymore because they cost too much to produce.
Right.
But
Right.
some of that money comes back to elected officials.
Oh, yes.
That's the way it works.
I mean, because
Every dime.
I can't wait to Elon. He's working on the people that get paid $200,000 a year that are now worth $20 million and have been in office 6 years.
Exactly.
And we have some from
Exactly.
Mississippi that are just like that.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense, people.
It's all of them.
The corruption is as deep as it can be. It's as wide as you want it. It's everybody that you think you trust. You got to understand that. It's like, look in Madison County. I mean, you got 3 supervisors that are controlling the county, keeping the other 2 conservative Republicans from doing anything.
Right.
And the one Steen keeps going back and forth, and they're building cheap houses here and cheap houses there and stuff everywhere for absolutely no reason at all other than to grease their pockets. And we know that that's occurring. We just can't prove it.
But we could if we investigated it.
You could if you investigated, but who's going to investigate?
Yeah, this
And
this,
who's going to pay for y'all to investigate it?
You know,
Y'all are the people,
well, the taxpayers are supposed to pay
Well,
for
I mean,
it.
right?
in Madison County right now, okay, the $2.7 million that was stolen last year, every few weeks you hear, well, we found another 500,000. We found another
Yeah.
500,000. Where'd you find it? On the ground? You found it in somebody's account.
Where is it now?
Who's the guy in that account that you got it from? And why can't you get it all? How did it happen to begin with? Why didn't anybody get fired?
Well, that's the beauty of news. They tell you about something, but they only tell you like 10% of the whole story.
Well, look,
And they expect that to hold you because
and
you're
the-
not in your, unless it's fed to you, you're not going to think any
and
further.
for the good news
about it
people that
than
are out
that.
there, the good news people that are out there, they are having to talk to crooks every day.
Right.
And the crooks are good. And, you know, if you steal the money, you're not going to say you stole the money.
Right.
And then, of course, we're still waiting on that lawsuit where Madison County spent $1 million buying land that they already own, that Mary has that lawsuit against them for that. Then you had the area out there in Madison County where they're trying, I mean, what Gene McGee's ready to build right there. He wants that piece of land for commercial property development. He's going to
Yep.
put some cheap hotels up right across from the city of Madison. That's his plan. Or he'll put in apartments.
Right.
I mean, because for instance, he's got a future South Jackson Blight being built on County Line Road. When that mall goes out, it's over for the whole area. And he's not planning ahead. He's not planning for that. And you got all those low rent apartment complexes, and you got all those hooker hotels right there at the beginning, and it goes from there all the way over to Lake Harbor. And you come down, he's not looking for the future.
And that used to be the posh area of town.
He's been in
the
office. He's been in office for
late 80s.
35 years. And he just got reelected because nobody ran against him. And he's got that blight there.
Why don't y'all scream term limits for like mayors and
I
and that
scream
kind of thing?
term limits for everybody.
Yeah, send them all home.
Well, I mean, I'm just it just occurred to me that a lot of these mayors have been here for decades and decades and decades.
If they'll just start arresting them, we'll be okay.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. They arrested one in
Or if we just verified our vote and we could,
Yeah.
naturally term limits would.
Okay,
come
let's
in.
take our last break, and we'll be right back here on the Chip Matthews Show on WYAB. And we're back for our final segment here on corruption in politics. So, John, in your mind, what do you do when your board is intimidated? The board should fight back. When the board is being threatened by lawmakers, and because two of them are sitting lawmakers and two of them are ex-lawmakers forever, what do you do?
Well, in 2021,
Right,
one of those lawmakers admitted in open court, because he was representing the mayor,
right,
that the committee they put together on the 30th of January, 31st of January, was improperly formed.
correct.
Okay. And their objective was not to follow the statute, to create a committee. Their objective was to put a committee together so that they could negotiate to put four of them on my committee,
Correct.
which didn't work.
Right.
And the judge in court had us get together 3 different times, and they finally got all the lawyers. He said, I want all the lawyers in the room in my office. And I don't know what they cooked up in there, but we did not negotiate with them.
Right.
And Tyree Irving, the state chairman of the Democratic council or committee or party, I refused to negotiate with him because I said, this is an illegitimate group.
Right.
They do not have any standing,
Right.
either legally or otherwise.
Right.
And it didn't work. So, and we lost. The judge saw to it we lost.
Right.
Of course.
So we did what we could. Now, short of a major uprising,
Right.
since no person at the level all the way through the governor will do anything about this,
Right.
short of an electoral uprising or worse,
Right.
yeah, you're not going to solve the problem.
Electoral uprising.
Because the bad guys are in charge. They know they're in charge, and they're going to stay in charge because the elected leaders charged or sworn to keep this from happening are not doing their jobs.
Correct.
So
We need a ton of election reform, and they don't really, and they refuse to understand.
no,
that
we need a ton of prosecutions. We got plenty of law. We got no prosecutions.
Right. And then the lawyers don't want to touch it.
No,
Nobody wants to touch it.
no.
So now that you've thrown your hat in for the second time into politics, Taylor,
Yes.
what are you going to do? What are you going to do to change it?
Get up every day and try to do the next right thing.
Right. And what everybody out there needs to realize is we need to flood the polling
polls.
precinct. When it's time to vote, you need to go vote.
They can't cheat if it's not
And
close.
then the next time that isn't open for somebody to run for office, you need to get off your ass and run.
Yep.
Don't just decide to let somebody be the mayor because they've been the mayor for 40 years or 35 years or 60 years. Run.
Well,
Because it's always good to run, because if you run, more people will get. I felt like I inspired one person to run in Canton, and
Well,
that
obviously in Jackson, that's what's happening. It didn't occur to me that we have 54 candidates on the ballot in Jackson for the municipal elections.
That's good.
54 between city council and mayor.
And
So-
guess what?
Jackson-
These aren't all believers, and they aren't all good guys.
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And they set up their little rings to where there's this guy, this guy, this guy. Like, for instance, the corrupt Canton election that they're working on there's a rumor that he's out to install the current mayor as the head of CMU, which is the lead corrupted place in Canton over the last few years. And of course, when the Rudy Warnock trial finally comes to court in June this time, if it doesn't get moved again, we'll finally get to the bottom of some corruption.
Didn't they already bankrupt CMU?
Yes, they already bankrupted.
I thought they did.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been on Truly's watch as mayor and Arnell's
Forever.
I mean, that's what they did. There was money there, and then there was always money in the rainy day fund for them, and they spent it all. They stole it all. Okay. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for us, John. Thanks for being here today. You got anything to say?
Y'all have a great week.
Okay.
Get
Taylor,
registered to vote. Start paying attention to the candidates. Weed out the real and the wrong ones.
and always remember, you got to vote. Also support all of our sponsors here on WYAB. And I, of course, am Chip Matthews, and I will see you back here next Monday, right here on most of this same radio station.
See y'all later.
Okay, bye.